Hello, everyone. We're a little bit ahead of schedule, so just hold tight for the next couple of minutes while we give everyone an opportunity to join, and then we'll kick things off. All right, it looks like there's still a few people joining. Bear with us for 1 second. All right. In the interest of time, I would say let's get things started. And I'm sure we'll have a couple of other people joining in the coming minutes. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar on this Thursday afternoon, hosted by myself and Erai, who will take over in just a moment. Today, we're going to be covering AI-powered creative workflows. Hopefully, that's what everyone here is expecting to hear about today. If it's not, then maybe ping me a message and let me know where the confusion is. But otherwise, I'm sure we're in the right place. So just a little bit of housekeeping up front. We expect that this will take about 30 minutes. We'll probably have a little bit of time left over at the end if things overrun or if we have lots of questions. The recording will, of course, be made available to everyone here via email pretty promptly after the webinar has ended. So keep an eye out for that. Obviously, feel free to share it with people that you think this might be of interest to. And we welcome any questions within the QA function, which you'll find on the right-hand side of your screens, I believe. So feel free to drop any questions in there, and we'll make sure that they all get addressed at the end. I can see that some people are already saying hi in there. So hi, everyone. And yeah, I think that's it from my side. So I will hand over to Erai from here.
Thank you, Harry. And I mean, to be honest, I would have liked you to keep going because your accent is so much better than mine. Like we can just sit down and listen to you for ages. But anyway, let me take over. I'm happy to walk you through this webinar today, and let me just walk you through the different things we want to present today. So first of all, I'm just gonna have a few words about Imagely. Then we're gonna deep dive into CE.SDK plugins, which is sort of one of our main initiatives to bring AI-based workflows into CE.SDK, into our editors. And then we'll be exploring a lot of demos, and we have some kind of sneak peeks as well, like really interesting things we've been cooking up lately. And I would expect quite some questions and answers after that. So, feel free to ask us any questions if you're curious and want to learn more. We'll also give you like a little bit of a heads up for the things we want to release soon or we're working on currently, so that you kind of get an idea where things are heading as well. So let me start by introducing ourselves again. So we're Imagely. What we do is basically we help product people, developers to build any creative tool, automation, or workflow with just a few lines of code or with a prompt these days. We are a very versatile solution platform that is being used by customers across different industries, from print to market tech, cloud storage. There are so many customers that we work with that are basically leveraging our solution to empower their creative tooling. And because Today, we're going to be quite broad. We're going to talk about different use cases. So some of you might be more from the printing space, others might be more in the marketing video space. In the future, we might drill a little bit more down to industry-specific use cases, but for now, it's a little bit more about the general technology and concepts, which are both, usually quite aligned in terms of what you can build for your use case, and kind of the paradigms powering our SDK. So I think the most fundamental part of our strategy was to release the plugin system last year, allowing you to extend our web SDK for the creative editor in many, many different ways. And in the beginning, it was obviously also to bring in functionality, let's say a little bit more the classic AI or even non-AI use cases, starting from background removal, vectorization, QR codes, and many others. Because usually our customers should be as autonomous as possible, because it's an essential part of their kind of tech. When you're integrating our SDK, we don't want you to wait for us to build a feature, especially today where so much innovation is happening. We want our customers to, whenever they feel like, okay, this is interesting, we need that in our editor workflow, that you can then extend the editor easily and build custom functionality, whether it's your own functionality or APIs deep into your editing workflows. With AI and the different AI models, the scope, exploded. There's so many different things that you can do, even using just one or two different generative image models, for example, starting from, generating images, but also doing style transfers, swapping backgrounds, and changing the image as well, editing it. And so there's so many different use cases that you can map just by bringing in AI models into the editing workflow. And we think that the combination of the classic tool, where you still have a lot of control over the edits, plus the magic coming from the AI layer, is the ultimate kind of tooling that helps a lot of creators be faster, but at the same time also be in charge and have really kind of this fine tune and this control over the creative process. So before talking too much, I really want to show you a lot. And just to give you an overview about the demos we're going to share, first of all, we're going to deep dive into the AI plugins and talk a little bit about what we have done on that end in the last couple of weeks and month. And then we'll talk a little about the Gen Media AI benchmarking, because today's world is a multi-model world, so many new models coming out. It's almost like a jungle these days. It's difficult to keep up and understand what's the differences. So we are addressing this challenge as well, and we wanted to present you with a sneak peek of something we're building for you. And then at the end, one topic that is really dear to my heart is like AI automations using CE.SDK. So not only talking about the editor itself, rather than that, having a little bit more kind of the zoom out and looking into how you can leverage our engine, for example, the creative engine, in combination with different LLMs and Gen Media AIs to build really truly amazing workflows. So let me start sharing my screen, and let's hope that nothing will crash here, because I had to load everything into my browser, and that's always a risky thing. But it's gonna work. So by the way, this is a demo that is also available on our showcase page. I always tell our customers, make sure you visit our showcases regularly, because we're updating them very often. There's new showcases being added from time to time, and so there is kind of, this is not very static. There is a lot of updates coming, and this is the AI editor showcase. And as you can see already here, in the segmented control here, you have different flavors in which you can experience the AI functionality, whether it's a design editor similar to Canva, a video editing experience, or a more simplistic photo editing experience where you're just using a single asset and then basically trying to edit it. And as I said, we have built a plugin system that allows you to really go deep into the editing workflows and alter, change them or add stuff on it, on top of it, so that your users can kind of, so that you can bring in functionality for your users in a way that it's really smooth and where they can basically do things faster and better. And the most obvious, way to integrate AI models, especially if we're talking about like generating stuff, is adding, here in what we call our doc, adding a new tool into the doc, which is the basically AI functionality here. And here you have like a prompt window. You can, have different, you can choose from different styles. And also what's quite important here is what we have changed over time. We started with 1 or 2 models, but as I said, there is so many different models out there right now. And on this, right panel, you can actually already see that even for this demo, you can turn on and off different models. And in the experience itself, then you can basically use these models and switch between models depending on what, model works best for your use case. It's not necessarily the, our recommendation to do that as well. If you're basically customer facing, all these names might be, users don't really know what these names are, and it's more difficult for them. So it's more for our demo, so that our customers and prospects can basically navigate and try out different models and see how they work. Usually, if you find yourself, if you find a model that works great for your use case, you should basically just bake it deep into the workflow without having some sort of a drop down like here. But still, it helps a lot to really, like, when there is no nano banana coming out, etc., then you can directly test these things out and see how that work. But apart from just pure, generating assets, what we really think is important is also to be able to interact with different assets that you already have or objects that you have within your design and do changes to them using some sort of, AI layer. For example, if you're working with text and you want to do changes to text and you don't want to copy paste stuff from, ChatGPT or Gemini, then you can do that directly from within the editor. And this is just our recommendation of how you could be doing these things. Behind every command here is more or less a prompt, and you could decide yourself if there are specific use cases to your, business where you want to add that specific functionality or that specific prompt. And everything here is basically just something that you can take and change entirely. It's just a really good kind of way to get started and then, make it yours by adapting it more to the workflows that you think are essential to your business. What you can also do is, especially with images, you can, let me just get rid of this, and then let's do a test here. Let's create a variant, and let's make her dress red. So one mechanism that we have built into CE.SDK is not only editing an image, but also being able to quickly create variants. So rather than copy and pasting and then editing an image, you can just directly say create a variant of it, because this is sort of a very essential functionality. Because again, I think with the models, you have a lot of power in making subtle changes, different kind of variants, in which you can then, go and decide whether you want to keep it or, even alter it further. Because I could go on this asset now and then just, keep editing it and doing even more with it. We have even like functionality in which you can then combine different images. You can select all of them, and then I have this option again to basically, do an AI edit. In this case, I can combine them into something new. I'm not going to do this now all live because it takes a little bit of time sometimes, and I want to really go through all the different things that we have to show. But you can produce easily results like that. You might have seen this on social media, but it can be very different recipes. You can go as far as even using the entire page as some sort of a visual prompt, right? So you could basically use this as a mood board, putting different things together, and then, just selecting the page and then turning that page into an image, which can then result into something like that. which is really interesting also because you could theoretically, for those who know a little bit more about our tech, everything can be saved and serialized as a scene file, which is basically more or less a JSON-like format. So you could run an automation using, for example, this mood board, and then just swapping either text here or different images that you want to combine with it, and then you can create hundreds and thousands of variants using basically this as your template for the visual prompting. That makes sense. So this is for the plugins that we currently have and for the different models that you could be using. And also what we have added recently is the photo editing as well. And very soon we will also have some masking ability, so you can then also just select specific parts of the image and then just edit these specific parts of the image. Usually Nano Banana, for example, if you use the modern or the state-of-the-art models, they're even able to do that already. So you don't necessarily have to just select specific parts of the image. But we think that in terms of user experience, sometimes it can be very cumbersome if you just rely on a prompt and you have to really describe exactly what you want to do rather than working in a more visual way and just selecting specific parts of the image and saying, okay, apply this to here, and let's keep going. All right, so this is it for the plugins and for the current set of plugins. For the AI plugins that we have many more, but for the whole AI editing, you can just go on the showcase page and then experience it yourself and try around. What we wanted to show in this webinar as well is a little bit more kind of tooling that you can build like this. Video clipper. This is a project I built within 1 or 2 days, and I have used different ingredients for that. I will go into that in a bit. But the purpose of this app is quite simple. So you have a very long video, and you want to shorten that video. So let's assume I have this webinar, 45 minutes of talking, and then I want to have some sort of an automation that helps me to identify key moments of my presentation or maybe in a discussion, and bring them together in a 1-minute video if I want to publish them on social, or maybe I want to have a summary, so kind of condensed version of this video. So many different ideas behind this. Key idea is, again, using some sort of a tech stack to basically help me tackle this problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load in a video. And this one has been a call I had with 2 of our designers. And we've been just kind of talking a lot about design topics, especially with regard to AI, how their job is changing, how it basically enables them to do much more than they were able to before. So we had a long talk. And what I can do now, after loading this video, I can choose what I want to do with this, right? And I can also change or determine what aspect ratio I want to do, and then now I will just start going with the process. And it will take a little bit of time. And while this is being generated, I can just quickly walk you through what's going on. So first of all, this hasn't worked. Well, I can just talk about it right now. So first of all, I've uploaded the video, and this video is then being basically uploaded into our engine, so that the engine already gets the video and gives me kind of back some key information. How long is this video? What's the aspect ratio of this video? And then I can also use the engine basically to extract the audio from the video, because I just want to use the audio and send it to a service like 11 Labs so that it can transcribe the video. So this will not work for any video. It will only work for videos that have a lot of audio or transcripts. Because what happens after generating the transcript, I will send the transcript to an LLM like Gemini, and Gemini will then start reading through the transcript, will kind of use my assignment to then generate a new transcript, including new timestamps, which will be then sent back to my app. and my app will then basically use the creative creative engine to slice the video at the right timestamps, bring everything together, and then it can basically generate the entire video. And there is like 1 or 2 really interesting parts about it, because since we're like using our engine, this can run both client side and server side. So in this case, this is all running client side, and I've just uploaded a video that is over 1 gigabyte. So it's quite a bit, and it's still able to process all of this. So as you can see, like it takes a little bit, usually the generating the transcript. So this is now 11 labs. It goes a little bit faster, but right now it's a bit slow. So maybe it's because I'm presenting, and it's still considerably faster than, you know, all the different solutions that I have seen currently that are tackling the same problem, because in their case, they need to upload the video. They need to, upload the video to a server, then everything happens on the server, then they need to send stuff back. So it goes back and forth a lot. And especially when you're dealing with large files, it can take considerably longer than this, which should usually take 4 or 5 minutes. But again, maybe something is going on with 11 labs and I'm doomed. Yeah, this is taking really a long time. So because I don't want to keep you guys waiting, I will just, go ahead and present the next. I will present the next project basically, and hope that this will advance. Let me just check what's going on, if there is something going on. No. Well, maybe really it's 11 labs that being terribly slow. I'm sorry for that, but we can try again in a bit. So let's keep going.
Right, maybe just while we're giving this a couple of extra seconds to see if it comes to life, the questions popped up in the chat. Could you clarify a little bit around what you mean when you say that the generating is done client side? There's a question, does it mean that all the processing is done on your machine, or is it being sent to Imagely via API?
No, it all happens on my machine. So the only thing where I require like some sort of the server is basically for the APIs that I'm using. So for the 11 Labs and Gemini API, but for all the operations in terms of video editing, stitching the video together, extracting the audio and all these things, this happens on the client. And actually, if this would have, I think something is going on. So I will just refresh this and hope for this to work now. Who knows? Sometimes you just have to reset. So it comes with some more advantages that I could show once the video is processed. It allows me, since everything is now in the engine, to do edits or to change things about the video. For example, changing the aspect ratio even after everything has been generated, which is not possible with most of the other services that I've said, because when you have to use a different aspect ratio, you basically have to do the whole operation again. But since everything is now basically client-side processing, this goes quite well. Was there any other question here, or?
Yeah, another question just popped up while we're giving the video clipper another go. Will automated video clipping be available in the SDK, or would it only be available through a kind of drag and drop interface like you're showing the example of the video clipper here?
Yeah, so I mean, this is something we're thinking about, and again, I wish this would have just kind of progressed. So I'm just gonna try with a different video and just hope that this will then work. Let's use something that is shorter. Just 1 second, please. So as you can see, this takes a while, even if I mean, especially because the job to be done is usually longer video and you want to have the longer video and as a shorter video. So we are definitely, this can be built as a plugin and we're definitely considering it. But what we're trying to figure out right now is what you should be doing with this waiting time, right? So what happens if somebody kind of changes the browser window or closes the browser window. So you need to persist the kind of processing. And at the same time, what happens if you have started doing different things with the editor while it's in progress? So we kind of just need to make sure that it doesn't kind of destroy anything that you have done after that. So these are like the thoughts that we have. For now, like we have used more the engine approach to build this rather than the plugin. But again, this is just something that we can definitely do. And I to be honest, like I think something is going on currently with 11 Labs, because this is definitely not supposed to take that long. And I really apologize. It's probably really the worst of luck, because I have never had issues with 11 Labs before, and now, yeah, it's in this waiting loop, and I cannot kind of show you how it looks like after that, which is really upsetting. Is there any other question on this?
Tiffany has asked a question, not specifically on this topic, but a little bit more around creating new buttons and new components that could behind them could have a new prompt to maybe do some other kind of generation or edit some media in some other way. But I think that's probably addressed by our documentation. So I'll follow up there unless there's anything else you wanted to
we can address this question in a bit, because I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we're working on currently, and this might be kind of a good moment to also like address this question more in detail. I would just kind of keep going now. This will be published in a couple of days anyway, right? So I'm super sorry that you cannot see the result, because I think what happens after it's done is actually, for me, was really like a super cool moment, because just seeing how well it performed and the output, how well it works, and then also seeing basically the value from our SDK. Yeah, I cannot show it to you right now, and it was important for me to have this as a live demo, and so in this case, yeah, joke's on me. But again, this is 11 Labs for some reason not generating the transcript or not sending anything back or being extremely slow. And in their defense, I never had that problem before. Otherwise, you know, I would have probably just done a video if I felt like it's not reliable enough. So I'm gonna go just quickly to the next topic before I can then, you know, start talking about, you know, some stuff that we're currently working on, showing you what's gonna come very soon. So one project that we are building. So I talked about like the different models, and you know, since we started with our plugins, I think beginning of last year, we've seen like basically an explosion of, you know, models coming into the market, and really good models from different vendors. Like, you know, we have seen Google creating really amazing models. We have seen ByteDance with, you know, the SeedDance models, and all of them have really interesting angles. But then again, like the key question is like, you know, how can I compare them? You know, how can I decide which one makes most sense? You can use our, you know, demos obviously to switch the models and then see how it goes. But I think, you know, for this purpose, we have just created a benchmarking tool, which you should be able to access hopefully soon with your Imagely login. And then you can basically choose any model, you know, that is currently in the market. And you can basically then do some prompts. Let's say a modern looking phone photography of a modern looking phone in front of with a white background. So yeah, in this case, I really want to, like, you know, try. As you can see here, you have the possibility to switch different kind of model categories, either text to image, image to image, and also soon image to video. And rather than having to go into every model and prompt there, I can just use one prompt, and then let's, you know, choose a few ones to see their output. And then we go. Or we don't. I have to log in. Okay. And let's go now. So, and the advantage that you have right now is that you can then see side by side the results of the different models. You can also see how fast they basically, generate the image. And then you can really detail out like specific parts that could be interesting for you. If you are more about interested about generating designs for apparel design, then you can, just have one prompt and then start refining it. You can actually also just, go and let's wait until this one is generated. Let's take the best one, maybe this one. It looks really nice. And then you can actually switch into the image to image and then continue your workflow and just kind of see, quite easily which model performs best for your use case, where are the gaps, and how can you maybe combine like text to image, image to image. So this could be like a very handy tool. And what we have also done with this is creating some more information sheets about specific categories that we already started benchmarking in. So for example, what's super important is see how different models perform with generating designs and graphics. And then, you have like this really beautiful overview where you can look into the different models and to their output and again, compare. And this is more like the editorial part that we have created, and same thing for models themselves, right? You can see how models perform and have like this really handy overview of the model itself, and can see, what images it generates for specific benchmark categories that we have introduced. So this is coming soon, and then let's go back into our slides. And we have only shown now everything is the web SDK, but we're obviously also working on bringing AI plugins into mobile as well. So this is something that is almost, you can see this is like a live demo, not a live demo, but like a video we've done from our current development, and it's pretty far already. So we have text to image, image to image, also baked deep into the UI for our mobile SDKs. And what else are we doing? So we're kind of looking into adding more components for our AI plugin, for plugins in general. So when you're building plugins currently, you can either build entirely your own UI, but this is always a little bit risky because you might risk having an entirely look and feel compared to the rest of the editor. Or you can use components that we provide from within the editor, and we already have a few of them, but we're adding more and more components. And part of that is also a modernization of some of the UI components. For example, if you're navigating through, one good example is AI avatars. So they require really large thumbnails, and you want to basically hover over them, and you want to see directly the preview. Currently, it's not possible, but we're basically creating all these different components so you can easily build these plugins and have like a really good kind of UI and UX in general. And I don't know, maybe this addresses a little bit the question that we had before, and if not, I'm super happy to kind of better understand what the question was. So we also have, a lot of AI automations, as you have unfortunately not seen in this case. The video clipping is part of that. And again, this might also be something we will just bring into the editor. Of course, auto captions, by the way, is part of the video clipping. So when we generate that new video, it comes with captions. And so auto captions is one of the plugins we will release probably, it's basically the highest priority build currently. And I think in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to release it. We're working on generative templates. So rather than generating an image, which has a lot of limitations, to be honest, it would be wonderful if we could really generate a full scene, right? Rather, it could be like a design scene, but it can also be like a video scene. And we have done a lot of different tests already and some working prototypes. It's not on a level yet that we want to release it. So it's really important for us that it really works consistently good. But this is, at least to say the least, is super important for us. We think this is Extremely important that LLMs can work with our SDK and can basically deploy or use the SDK to generate design assets. And so templates would be high up the list. And part of that is also auto layouting. So having maybe one template, you wanna generate, all the different aspect ratios of one template. It shouldn't be difficult, right? So currently it's a lot of work, and we think that this can be that there can be many shortcuts to that. And one shortcut could be really saying, okay, here is a template. Can you please generate, all the different aspect ratios automatically? And then it generates it. And even if it's not like 100% optimal, you can still go into a design and then make corrections to it. So especially in marketing, I think this is super valuable. But even like if you're having different print products and you don't want to like create one design 10 times over and over again, this can be super handy. And last but not least, we're working with many new partners and hopefully have a lot of announcements coming soon for more out-of-the-box integrations with either different models, vendors of like really interesting or sometimes extremely helpful AI features. It can also be like automations that we want to just bake deep into the engine or bake deep into the editor and provide you with the highest level of convenience by basically just having 1 or 2 lines of code to get this into your own editor. So this is kind of a lot on our plate, obviously, but hopefully we'll have a few announcements coming very, very soon. And apologize again for the demo that didn't work, which is really pain in the ass because this has been something I was quite proud of, and then when it doesn't work, then it's obviously a little bit of a letdown. Let's go to the questions and answers.
All right, amazing. Maybe let's just pick back up on Tiffany's question from earlier, and Eero, perhaps you could go back to the example that you were sharing on your screen where we were talking about our plugin system and what that looks like. Tiffany raised a kind of secondary question around how those plugins can change when a user is doing a different activity, i.e. maybe editing text as opposed to editing an image, and how the different tools or different prompts available to them from that asset might differ. If you're able to.
I think this flexibility is already fully given. So you can absolutely create very bespoke workflows to the assets. It's really you who's in control. Our plugins work the way that you get the entire code of it, and then you can just go in and change things. You can build plugins from scratch. We have seen really amazing plugins from customers that we haven't even ever imagined that you would build something like that. So you are extremely versatile and flexible in the way you can use it and leverage it. But I think to ultimately answer your question, I would have to see basically really what you want to build, or like kind of really understand the ideas. And we're always happy to kind of hop on a call and you can tell us like what you want to build, and then we can also give you some more understanding of what's the best strategy to go there. Do we already have a plugin that you could use and just change, or there's so many different ways actually of how you can accomplish it.
All right, great, thank you. There was a question from Daniel. Is it possible to generate images or videos on the editor timeline? It would be cool to place a shot on the timeline and then be able to generate images and videos.
Yeah, that's a super good question, and not yet, but that's part of our kind of plugin effort. So what we want to do is we want to make the timeline extendable as well. So currently, most of the UI components, of the larger kind of UI components that we have within the editor, like the dock or the canvas, the on-canvas menus, you can extend them. The only thing that you currently cannot extend is the timeline, but this is definitely something we're planning to do, and allow you then to basically select a part in the timeline. And then, if you want then to populate it with an image or with assets, you will be then in control of what should happen when basically this event is triggered.
Awesome, thank you. Another question, and I apologize in advance. I won't try and mispronounce the name. But what about the pricing for generating images? Is that included in the standard licensing per user, or are there additional costs?
So this is not included because obviously, we can never know how much volume will be generated on your end, and this is a cost that scales up. And this is not because we want it, because this is the nature of things at the moment, at least. So currently what we do is we're currently partnering with Fall AI. We recommend you to use that. We will have more partners coming very soon. So then we will basically give you some different options. Fall AI gives $500 in credits, and then you can basically use the Fall AI API to empower the different AI features that you want to do, if it's image generation or video generation. We definitely want to have this more as something that can be done all entirely within Imagely. So you basically register Imagely, and then you can just say, okay, I want to have these models, and all the billing and everything happens on our end. But this is not where we are right now, but definitely something where we will be within this year. It's quite important for us.
All right, great. There's a question here, I think, really around bringing in models perhaps that aren't provided by Fall AI. So I'll just go through the full question. Do you have any case studies around SDK customers who don't want to send content to a general LLM, but an internally trained, security approved model? Is the plugin for that custom model then just configured within the SDK?
So this is also a really good question. And again, the way our plugins work is the system itself is open. Everyone can build plugins, and usually you build plugins within 1 or 2 days. Using the plugins that we have published reduces this time to maybe just a few lines of code, which is always important for us. But in the end, you always have the option to build your own plugin. So if there is something that we don't provide, you can just build it. That being said, I don't know the model that you want to use and how basically it connects. And maybe you can actually use our existing plugins, which currently work with Fall AI, but also 2 more providers will come very soon. And it might work in a very similar way, but just from the distance, it's super difficult for me to say. So in general, in principle, definitely possible, but to tell you if this is a super low-hanging fruit, like basically few lines of code to change, or is it a little bit more? I cannot tell you, but in any case, it's not like crazy amount of work. It's just building your own plugin for the model you want to do, and then you are in charge of. You are in control of everything, right? So in terms of security, etc., you see all the code, you know exactly what it does. So you are in charge of that. I hope this answers your question.
Awesome. And then the final question that I can currently see, but please feel free to ask any more questions if there are any, is whether a third-party plugin marketplace exists currently, and then I guess the follow-up would be if not, if there are any plans.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically what I said before. It's super important for us. Like, one key metric for us at Imagely is time for integration. And we're absolutely aware that currently, when you're kind of interested in working in bringing all this really outside stuff into the editor, which is, I think, essential, because Imagely will not build every creative tool itself ourselves. We don't want to, we cannot, and realistically it will not happen. And we will not create models. So we want all our customers to capitalize from that innovation. But ideally, obviously, without having to go to 10 different vendors, and that's a lot of work. So we want to reduce that friction, obviously. And so, yes, in the end, what needs to happen is you come to Imagely, you configure your editor within Imagely, you bring in all the different models within Imagely, even though they're not ours, right? It's just the partnerships that we have in place then. And then you see all the different plugins that you can use. Currently, it's just a showcase page that we have and we can provide. So you can already have an understanding of the scope. But yeah, it's definitely something planned for this year. And we're really excited for that. Like realistically, I think at the end of June, we will probably already have this. So it's an effort for the first half of this year.
All right, amazing. So from what I can see, that's every question that we've received. Obviously, still got a minute or so available, so feel free to chuck any last questions that you still have there. We're, of course, available outside of the webinar to answer any questions if people don't want to put questions within the public chat. But for now, Erai, I think that is everything.
All right, then thanks everyone for joining. And we will definitely publish and release the things that I've already presented and the one thing that didn't work in the coming days. So keep your eyes peeled. Also, let us know if you are kind of interested in using these or being hands-on, so we can directly come to you and provide updates as they come.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Like I say, we'll follow up with a recording of this, and yeah, hopefully, if nothing else, then a video showing what could have been today. And thanks for your time, and hope to see you all again sometime soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cheers.